Okay, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. I am Leslie Jones. I'm sitting in for Mayor Hakes, who is out of town today. Theron Garrett is here on a speaker. He's home sick, and that's it. So we will begin with an invocation offered by Councilmember Beck, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance of Benjamin Haslam, a scout in our community.
Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the many blessings that we enjoy, and we're especially grateful for this great community that we live in and for the wonderful people that we get to associate with and that have built this community. With that, please bless us this evening with guidance and wisdom. Bless us that we can impact the lives of those in a positive way. We love thee very much, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please repeat the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Benjamin. He did not know he was going to do that when he walked in tonight, but thank you for your willingness to do that. Our first item is a ceremonial item. We have the swearing in of a new police officer, Sean Comsa.
You said it perfect. That was better than I did the first 2 weeks he was here, so.
What do you expect?
Way to go, that's perfection.
Thanks, Camille.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
She gave me the heads up.
First off, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So as you know, part of our accreditation and part of our policies and procedures is when we get a new police officer, we require them to swear in and take an oath that they will uphold the ordinances and the laws of Mapleton City and the state and federal government. So with that in mind, I want to introduce you guys to our newest police officer, and I'm going to ask him to come up here and stand by me while I introduce him real quick here. This is Sean Comsa. I said his name wrong, but that is what it is. And Sean comes to us from the Utah State Prison. We brought Sean down. He completed the police academy this summer. He graduated in late August, and he's here with his wife and his parents. So before we swear him in, don't those white shirts look good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, those white shirts look good. So we're happy to have Sean here. He keeps us fully staffed, so he'll be on his training for probably another, well, I don't want to get him optimistic. The next little while, he'll be training, and then he'll be out on the road on his own, so you'll be seeing him around town. So Sean, this is the council that we report to, and we'll have Camille come down and swear you in.
I do solemnly swear that I will support, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Furthermore, I swear that I have not, do not, and will not belong to any party, group, or organization which advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States, the state of Utah, or the city of Mapleton, by force, fear, or violence, terror, or any other manner. By force, fear, or violence, terror, or any other manner. I do further swear that I will fairly and equally enforce the laws of the United States, the state of Utah, and the city of Mapleton, without anger, malice, or prejudice, and that I will abide by the law enforcement code of ethics and the policies and procedures of the Mapleton Police Department. I take this oath and obligation freely, without mental reservation and without purpose of evasion. I hereby swear and promise that I will discharge the duties of this my chosen profession with honor and fidelity. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you. So why we got him getting some pictures, we told him, he was in the police academy, so he could only work a certain amount of time with us, but one day he had to work was Pioneer Day. So we put him in the road on 1600 South when it let out, and so his first real exposure to our town was a flood of hundreds of people coming at me going, just let him go, just let him go. There's nothing you can do.
And he came back.
And he came back. And just while we're here, just a couple of our other officers back here, Officer Hill, you guys have met, or Lieutenant Bringhurst, Sergeant McCoy, and I'm gonna do my administrative report right now, if it's okay with you.
Yep.
Officer Miller oversaw the police department side of the public safety night out, so while he's here, I just thought it'd be appropriate to tell him that that was a fun night, and we appreciate his efforts that went into that, so thanks. Okay, I'm out of your hair.
Chief Jackson, what else can you tell us about the Public Safety Night Out? It seemed like a larger event,
Yeah,
as
it was
well
fun.
attended, and a lot of different things from the last one I attended.
Yeah, so credit where credit's due. I'm the lucky guy that gets to tell you about it, but the people that put the work into it were Chief Glasgow and Officer Miller. They're the ones that oversaw it. They bought 500 hot dogs, and they were gone in the first half hour, so that's how we gauged our turnout. I think Travis had 3, though, so maybe there's a few. But it was awesome. I mean, they brought in the swamp boat or whatever it's called from search and rescue. There was some out of the norm stuff, so we were pretty excited about that. The dogs were there. The dunk tank, which I will mention, that Chief Glasgow did not get in. And I'll let that go in about a year, but he didn't get in that. But they had the helicopters. They cut open a car. It was a fun night, so we're really happy with it. So thank you guys that came and participated in that.
Thank you, and welcome to Mapleton, Officer Comsa. Okay, we'll go to public forum. Do we have anybody signed up for public forum comments?
Miss Rainbow Royalty was supposed to be here, but they're not.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Any comments or motion to approve or amend?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes. Garrett?
Garrett, yes.
I did.
That was a Garrett, yes?
Yes. Did you hear me okay?
Thank you. Yep, just wanted to clarify that. Okay, our public hearing item is a consideration of a resolution adopting an updated moderate income housing element of the general plan. Sean Conroy.
Thank you, members of the council. Can you advance that? Sorry, this isn't be out of range down there. Next one. Yeah, so as you know, each community in Utah is required to adopt a moderate income housing plan. The state legislature has been active in the last few years in increasing requirements for cities. And so this year they've expanded the requirements for the cities as well, which necessitates us to update our moderate income housing element. The basic changes they did this year is they added additional strategies that cities could choose from. We have to choose 3, at least 3. And then the new requirement is that we have to show an implementation plan that demonstrates when we're going to implement or consider implementation of certain measures. So that's what we're here tonight to look at. Camille, you can hit that. Oh, let's see. Oh, now it's, there you go. So most of the plan itself is, a lot of the information in it is basically the same. We updated some of the data. But the strategies and the implementation we'll go over here just quickly. So first and foremost is continuing to allow accessory apartments. We've indicated that this measure has already been implemented and is ongoing, so we'll continue to allow accessory apartments on lots of 6,000 square feet or larger. The second is to consider eliminating or further reducing the impact fees for ADUs. That's one of the new strategies that they've included. And so we've included that as a strategy for Mapleton City, and that we will consider by June of next year an ordinance that would look at reducing or further reduce or eliminating the impact fees for ADUs. Doesn't mean that we need to make that decision tonight that we're going to reduce them or eliminate them, just that we're going to reconsider that issue and discuss it prior to June of next year.
So I thought we've already done that.
We did reduce them, so what we would be doing is saying, okay, now that this is a strategy that we can implement in satisfaction of the state
That piece
code.
we did- What we did didn't count.
We possibly could argue that it did. I think our our proposal is just that we reconsider it, and maybe we eliminate them altogether, or we keep them where they're at, but
And that's an attempt to remain consistent with the current legislative updates that they made, is that right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The third is consistent with what we've done in the past, and that's continue to allow for mixed-use housing in commercial zones where you have ground floor commercial, residential on the second floor. So we've indicated that that has already been implemented and is ongoing. Our ordinances already allow that. And then number four really is more of a symbolic measure at this point, is just to also consider an ordinance that would eliminate or reduce impact fees if a developer came and said, we would like to provide some deed-restricted moderate income housing, that we would have taken a position that we would waive or reduce the impact fees for those types of developments. So that's really the update, is those are the four items that we're proposing as implementation, as strategies and implementation.
But we only need to do 3?
We only need 3. Part of the reason we added the fourth is if on number 2, we decide that we aren't going to change the impact fees, then we've still got 3 that we've acted on.
And Sean, do we ever receive feedback? It sounds like we haven't received any feedback on our last plan a year ago, but generally is that kind of how it goes? They don't ever tell us like, yes, that looks good, or no, do better?
Yeah, they don't contact us to say address this or address that. It kind of shows up on a checklist that shows communities that have submitted their information. That may change as they get more involved in these, but we have not received formal feedback on these.
The conversation on this often is if you're out of compliance with the request, then the discussion is always about what access will you lose to funding.
And what funding do we get now?
The funding that they're tying to this is transportation funding. So it could potentially be B&C road funds. Most cities receive quite a bit more transportation funding through the regional transportation agencies like MAG. We don't typically get that, but our potential concern would be the B&C road funds, which would be a significant hit.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Sean, we'll open it up for public comment. And seeing as there is not public comment on this, we'll close comments and open it up for discussion, council discussion. Or a motion.
I don't know that I fully understand number 4. So number 4 about related to moderate income housing, reducing the impact fees, certainly they would have an impact on our city. So we're reducing it to what it would have been maybe if it would have been less dense housing?
Well, it's not based on.
Is there any guideline for that to make it qualified?
Yeah, it's not based on density. It's based on if a developer came and said, as part of our proposal, we're going to have specific units deed restricted for moderate income. So they're only eligible for families that meet that moderate income standard. That we would say, in that instance, we would either waive or reduce the impact fees. But the implementation is that we will entertain an ordinance to evaluate that. So we will look at this in more detail in the coming months to determine whether that makes sense to act on or not. This is the strategy that we're showing. The implementation is that we will consider an ordinance that will look at that in the near future.
Is there a definition for moderate income?
Yeah, it's 80% of the county median income. So I think on
80% of the average.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what this was in the plan. So you're looking at if they deed restricted it to something in that $300,000 range or under.
So somebody could buy the house that would qualify and somebody that wouldn't qualify?
The way those programs usually work is it'll be deed restricted that says, if you rent this, you have to meet these income standards, or if you purchase it, you have to meet these income standards. And then there's additional requirements if they're going to sell it that keep it in that moderate income range. It's not likely that we'll receive these in the near future. This, like I said, this is more of a symbolic gesture to show that we are making steps, that if somebody came with that proposal, that we're trying to remove impediments from them to be able to
Okay.
do it.
If somebody that had more money, they couldn't rent it? So say they were at the average income, they couldn't rent the place?
Correct.
Okay, so we would okay, so we
Yeah,
would actually deny.
If the developer came and said, we are going to deed restrict this, our position would be, in that case, we would consider reducing impact fees as an incentive for them to do
Okay.
it.
Sorry for all the questions, but I just
No,
trying to
that's good.
understand.
Mhm.
These first two items are in line with the general plan suggestions or survey results, and so I think this is right where we need to be.
For sure.
And having said that, then I'll make,
Number 3 is already underway, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what we've done disqualifies, so we don't have to do any more with that, number 3, but we do number 2.
Yeah, 3, the ordinance is in place, so as people apply, units will come.
Is there a motion? Or Theron, do you have any questions or comment?
No, I don't have any questions or comments.
Do it if you want, unless you want to do it all the time. I'll make a motion to adopt the updated moderate income housing element of the general plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made by Councilmember Egbert and seconded by Councilmember Beck.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Thank you. The next item is an action item, consideration of a resolution from the Parks and Recreation Director to purchase a new Toyota Tacoma. Logan?
Thank you, members of the council. So this is just to ratify, to meet our new vehicle replacement. So it wasn't in the replacement, this would be adding into our vehicle due to us adding additional staffing. So we need to add another vehicle to be able to give that to an employee. So this is just to make sure that we put it in the vehicle replacement program. So, any questions?
Any comments, questions, or motion?
Oh, I can do that. I make a motion that we accept. Whoops, I didn't look at it. I put a motion forth that we go ahead and that the director to purchase a new Toyota Tacoma as planned.
Okay, second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Councilmember Carlson and seconded by Councilmember Beck.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Carlson, yes. Oh, excuse me.
Okay, you're okay. Councilmember Garrett?
Garrett, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Motion passes. Okay, a discussion item. This is a discussion item only, this is a discussion item to provide guidance on an ordinance establishing standards for short-term rentals within the city. Sean?
Thank you, members of the council. As you recall, a few years ago, there was an ordinance that allowed for short-term rentals as a conditional use in the A2 zone. There were a number of standards. They had to be on 5 acres or larger and some other requirements. When we reevaluated the CUP standards in the A2 zone, we eliminated short-term rentals altogether. There's been at least some discussion at our council retreat and in others to say maybe we should look at an ordinance citywide rather than just A2 specific. And so tonight we're really trying to just get some guidance. Is this still a direction you want to go in? Do you want to consider short-term rentals as a potential use in the city? If the answer is no, staff would propose an ordinance that would make it explicit that short-term rentals are not allowed. If the answer is yes, then we would move forward with an ordinance based on the guidance or the feedback that we get from the council. Excuse me. Some of the potential reasons why you may consider it, it allows homeowners the opportunity to utilize their property, maybe gain some additional income. We could generate a little bit of tax income. We can adopt as a city the transient room tax, which is 1% of the charges that are charged. It allows visitors to stay where they may not have other options currently, and would potentially help legalize some of the short-term rentals that may be out there that are currently operating that are contrary to the ordinance. The cons that you usually hear about with these is concerns over neighborhood character, the transient nature of people coming in and out, disturbing the peace issues, especially when you get large groups. And one that's important to keep in mind with the discussion we just had is a potential reduction in moderate income units. You know, if somebody has an accessory apartment and they decide, hey, I'd rather short-term rental this than use it as a typical rental, that could reduce our availability of moderate income housing. So just some of the pros and cons to think about as we discuss this. Some of the things that some other cities have looked at is requiring that if you do allow them, that it has to be owner occupied. So you couldn't have investors come in buying properties that don't live there just to do short-term rentals. The owner would have to occupy the residence. Springville and some other cities have adopted standards like this next one that allow you to not be present in the home while you rent it for up to 90 days. The idea is that if you're gone for the summer or you're gone during vacation times, that you could rent your home while you're out. But beyond 90 days, that the homeowner would have to be present. We could look at establishing maximum occupancy rates, you know, typical on-site parking requirements, things like that, to help address some of the potential concerns. But really tonight we want to, first of all, is this something you're interested in? If so, if you have any feedback on what those requirements would be, what the public outreach might look like, and then staff can work on an ordinance if that's the direction you want to go. That's all I had.
Great, thank you, Sean. Comments, questions, insights, discussion?
Do we, like, I know there's obviously a lot of people that do it, you know, not within the code and ordinances, but do we hear complaints from residents that come in and talk about, you know, maybe crack down on this neighbor? Or
Every now and then. It's pretty rare, but we have received a couple of complaints. Mm-hmm.
Sean, do you see that? Is there a trend of the complaints that you've received? Is it typically towards the higher density, higher occupancy type of units?
It's more just neighbors saying, I don't think you're supposed to do this. They're doing this.
Okay.
That's what we've heard most recently.
Okay.
And if they like it, they probably wouldn't say anything.
Right.
And like the report said, we only have really one that's like from the previous ordinance. There's
That's
only one
legal.
that's
Yep,
legal.
that has a permit.
Yeah.
And frankly, those are the type we probably want to look at, you know, not allowing as large of an event, as large of a rental as those are, right? That's a pretty big operation.
I think there's a fine balance between personal property rights and maintaining the integrity and safety of a community. And I feel like some of these restrictions have struck a good balance between those two. I feel like the concerns that might occur in a neighborhood around short-term rentals is, I don't know who my neighbor is. I don't know who's coming in and out over the weekend. And we want people to feel like they're safe in their own neighborhoods. That being said, there's plenty of neighbors that don't know who their neighbors are on a full-time basis either, so. So I think this strikes a good balance between those two priorities.
It seems like anything longer than 90 days would probably offset the moderate housing or with affordability housing con. So it seems like 90 days is a good amount for that, to not tap into that con too much.
Well, it allows people to snowbird if they want, or other
Or go for the summer.
things, yeah, go for a summer or something, yeah.
I have probably some concerns about opening this up to, say, neighborhoods of quarter acre or less. And if we were to do that, I think the owner should be present so they know what's going on at their house. But I just have some concerns about the whole
Yeah.
thing in Mapleton. In other cities, I can see it, but
Mm-hmm.
just the character of Mapleton, I have some concerns about it.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity with balance. I appreciate your recommendations for potential restrictions. The struggle for me is the balance between property rights and maintaining that critical community balance. I mean, you go to VRBO right now, I can see 5 that are publicly listed that we know, you know, none of them are appropriate. So, I mean, these exist in our community. The question is, what can we do to bring them in line and to match that balance of property rights? So I'm inclined to say, yes, we need to allow to some extent and then consider the restrictions. I do like the control that having homeownership does. The 90 days doesn't bother me. I can see that during, you know, summer times and whatnot. I think parking makes sense. It's consistent with several others of our ordinances. If you're having an accessory unit, we require parking. So I'm inclined to say, okay, staff, let's move forward with a restricted ordinance.
And unfortunately, we're just saying to look into it more, so we're
Yeah.
not even
To
deciding.
move forward or not.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Any thoughts on, if we do move forward, what kind of public outreach? Do you want us to do some social media posts on this, that we're considering it? Obviously, we'll publicize the public hearings that come. Any other thoughts? This one's tough because you could see people not being engaged until there's one next door, like a lot of land use issues, right? And then coming to the council saying, I can't believe this is being allowed, or something like that, right? So we just want to know how extensive you'd like us to go in the.
I think it would be very important to engage the community to some degree, knowing that there's probably going to be 50-50 for and against, right, for a variety of different reasons. But I think it is important to include that feedback in the conversation. Yes.
Because this could potentially affect so many homeowners here. I mean, we're encouraging additional accessory units. We have wide spaces, lots of people who could build them in the future. I agree that this is important to at least give people the opportunity to provide feedback outside of even just the regular public hearing. So I'd love to see something in the next newsletter that calls for comments, and then some social media that does the same, and then reminds them about, we'll call for comments, send them in advance, and attend the public hearing, provide feedback, because it's likely somebody has some feedback we haven't even considered.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get as much content as we can. I think this is a big one.
And we're in no rush, so we can take as much time as you want on it. Okay, that's good.
I agree it should be done early.
I think, one reason we're doing this is to kind of crack down on those that aren't happening legally, right? So I wonder if some teeth need to be included as well, because we're putting this out there to make sure that we know what's going on and that there aren't any surprises. So
Yeah.
I wonder if we include some language about that.
Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall if it was last legislative session or this one, there were some restrictions placed on cities in terms of enforcement. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, there's been, the last few legislative sessions, there's been proposals. Some things have not moved forward. Last year, it's really strange, what they adopted was that cities could not enforce short-term rental restrictions based on advertisements in VRBO or Airbnb.
Right, okay, that's what I was
So
told. Yeah.
I couldn't go to a property owner and say, hey, I saw that you were listing this, that's not allowed in the city, and take enforcement action based on that.
It would have to be, I caught you red-handed with the neighbor or the person, yeah, which gets kind of creepy if that's
Yeah, and
happening.
the tricky part is if we decide not to do it, we need to make it clear in the code, because there was a lawsuit, and what the city argued was, hey, if it's not specified as a permitted use, it's not allowed, and that's a typical position on zoning standards. But the court said because it's a residential use, you allow residential uses, yes, it is allowed. And so until we have something very clear in the code that says you can't do it, even when we're getting requests or concerns today, there's there's a little bit of a gray area of whether we can enforce anything at this time anyway, so.
I see that as the challenge for any city, any person who wants to not allow them at all. The enforcement is always a challenge. This last legislative session, the argument was made, and I think it's valid. I like these restrictions, but I also support if somebody wants to invite whoever they want into their home, they have every right to do that, whether I like who they're having in their home or not. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, but keeping some restrictions on that as much as possible protects others, right? That might also have an interest in the neighborhood.
Perfect. Well, we'll plan, assuming that's the direction of the council, we'll plan some public outreach efforts and then just take it through a public process.
Theron, do you have any comments or questions to add?
Yeah, I'll just pipe in with my perspective. I'll make it quick and short because it's easy. That I echo everybody's sentiments, and I appreciate all the research that Sean and team and everybody has done. I'm in favor of proceeding with a ordinance that allows the short-term rentals with these restrictions. I'm in favor of all of the listed restrictions in the staff report. I'm a little hesitant on the 90-day stay restriction, but with those other 5, I'm in favor of all 5 of those other ones. So, yeah, I echo everybody else's comments and concerns.
Okay, great. Sounds like that's
Sounds good. We'll take it.
some good direction for you. Okay, let's move on to administrative reports. We don't adjourn no, we do reports and then adjourn, right? Okay. Administrative reports, we've already, Mr. Lord?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Corey, I forgot the one we talked about this morning. Do you remember what it was?
One of them was the sidewalk and those grants.
Oh, that's it, thank you. That was one. So just an update on some sidewalk projects. We've got 2 that we're designing right now. They'll be done within the next month. One is right by Hobble Creek Elementary, and the other one is on the corner of 3rd West and 12th North. Both projects we've been working on for a year or so, so I haven't been able to do anything, hired an engineer, and look at that, we got it done, so we're excited about that. Other than that, we still have the sidewalk master plan that's in progress, so once we get these 2 knocked out, we'll start working on the next highest priority. I'm not sure even what that is right now. I'll have to go back and look at the plan. That's the sidewalks.
Stephen, just shed a little light on the grant
on the safe routes to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so UDOT has a Safe Routes to School program. They offer some grant money associated with that program. It's very, very competitive. It's a very small bucket of money, and you have to apply 2 or 3 years before you're ready to construct. But in doing that, you have to have it designed and all the right-of-way acquired before you can even submit an application. So it's a lot of effort for not much reward, and it tends to be so small that it just hasn't been worth it in the past. But now that we've got the master plan, we're going to look a little closer at it and see if we can look 2 or 3 years ahead and see if that's worth doing. My gut feeling is it's still not worth it, but we're going to look at it a little closer. Other things, the treatment plant design is done. The groundbreaking was a couple of weeks ago. We have on the 13th, I believe it's the 13th of this month, is the meeting with the contractor where we're going to hash out the final price. So after I've been in a dark room for 3 or 4 days to recover from that, we'll get back together and I'll let you know how much money I need. And I think that sounds like that was it, I think. I'm sure there was one more, but it can't have been important. Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you.
I can do them all. I just have one more, maybe 1.5. You'll notice on the fire engines, they're going to push a campaign this month of suicide awareness, the 988 thing. So they've got a banner up and they've got some stickers on their fire engines. So you'll see that Chief Glasgow's heading that up. So kudos to him. The safe route to school thing is the real deal. With the town growing, so are our requests for crosswalks to schools, and I'm out of crossing guards, so just again, another push for crossing guards if you know of anybody that would be interested in that. So thanks.
Sean, do you have anything?
Just quickly, I think we mentioned to the council that we did pick up the 30-acre parcel that has been formally deeded to us. That's ours. We also now have 80% of the Sunrise Ranch Park that's been deeded to us. The trigger on that is different phases. As different phases record, they're required to dedicate a certain amount. So we have 80% of that parcel. So quite a bit. That's 45 acres of open space that's been dedicated in the last couple of weeks. So that's exciting. And Logan, do you want to hit on the trails? He can hit on where we're at with the Trails Committee.
So just a couple, first is Moonlight this Friday. So if you want to come out to the pond and help hand out goodies and cheer the runners on, we'll be there. So our numbers are starting to pick up, so that's been good. We're excited, and hopefully it cools down a little bit.
What kind of turnout do you get generally? What are you looking at?
We're looking a little over 100 this year, which is up about 20 from last year. So pre-COVID, we were about 150, and then COVID came and it dropped down to like 60, and then it's just kind of slowly, gone back up. So I think there may be some opportunities to maybe change a little bit of it next year and look at some other opportunities on it, but we're excited to get the ones that we have for this year. And
are you by chance collecting location information on their registration? I'm just curious to know.
Yep, and I can provide whatever feedback that way. The last time I checked, there was about 20% were Mapleton residents, the rest were all coming. There's even some from Texas. I don't know if that was true or if they were just family coming in, but I was like, it's gonna be interesting.
Oh.
So,
It's really popular.
Dallas comes every year from California, maybe some of them are.
Yeah, maybe that, yeah.
It's Dallas's cousins probably from Texas.
So anyways, we're excited. It'll be it's always a fun event, and we always got good treats and goodies, so that'll be fun. And then secondly, what Sean on our Trails Committee, so we've been able to reach out to those members for our committee. They've all accepted. I just spoke with our Trails consultant today to kind of get the next step in this process, and we'll have an introductory kickoff probably in 2 weeks. Just kind of do a more formal, everybody get to know who they are, what our interests are, and then from there be able to put together a little bit better plan on our strategy moving forward. Right now we're tentatively thinking our first phase will be a public outreach of some sort. We're thinking more of a survey, and then after that be able to meet as a committee and staff and our consultant to be able to come up with a good game plan of what that brings back. So we're really excited. Sean and I have talked about it a whole bunch. I feel like the group that we have is awesome and represents a good majority of what trail users are going to be, and so I think we're really excited, and it'll be a fun project to get going. So as more updates come and we get more things, I'll pass those along, but we're just at the point of getting started, so we're excited. So and that's it. We've got our fall sports just kicked off this week, so hopefully again cools down so Jessica can just sip her lemonade and not be too hot. So anyways, that's all.
Okay, yes.
Okay, it was important. October 17th is PI shut-off day, so October 17th. So if you get asked, get questions, you can let people know. That's a Monday.
98 that day.
What's that?
It might be 98
Yeah,
degrees.
yeah, we're hoping it's under 100 degrees by then.
What's
So-
our water usage been this year of PI? Is it down from last year, up from last year?
It's about the same as last year,
About the same.
down from the year before. Yeah, okay,
Great,
thanks.
thank you. Reed?
I don't think they have anything. Other than the seniors are starting again this week. They're having their first.
They
day
are
for the
tomorrow, aren't they? My parents will be the newest members of the Senior Luncheon Club.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, good.
So the three of us, will be here tomorrow.
My only thing is, Chief went live with our call for committee members for our new Community Preparedness Committee, so please feel free to send people our way if they might be interested in serving. That's it.
For NYCC, they had an event last week where they blitzed the new neighborhoods and new move-ins to Mapleton. They gave them a welcome packet that consisted of who your elected officials are. Here's some information about the Parks and Rec, and thanks to a lot of you that participated, and from everything I've gathered, they had just an awesome time, and it was a really good event, and more, involved in the political, community aspect too. So I think that's a positive development. Logan and I will be meeting with them Monday evening because they'll be having some changes in leadership, and so we'll be getting a lot of feedback from the leaders and how to make some tweaks for improving things there.
I do not have a report. Theron?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So just really quick, we have the community cleanup activity coming up on October 22nd. That's going to be basically the same as it's been each spring and each fall. Not a whole lot of changes as far as the organization and structure of the event. They are asking to have a discussion, and I already sent out an email about ideas for a give back project to a local family. We'll just continue that discussion via email back and forth. But I did want to talk about the dumpster area. There was some requests of several citizens that asked about maybe spraying for or scraping the goat head weeds out of that area before the event, because everybody's frustrated that as they drive in there and dump their stuff into the dumpsters, they're taking goat head back to their property and seeding their yard with goat head. So wanted to just put that out there. See, maybe Stephen could comment on that. And as well, with the dumpsters, we also still have a standing request to have a front-end loader there that morning as well. Is that still okay, Stephen?
Thumbs up, Theron. He gave you a thumbs up.
Okay.
He gave
Wonderful.
two thumbs up. He's not sitting on the dais. But he gave you 2 thumbs up.
Who's on goat head clearance duty? Is that your team?
That's great. 2 thumbs up from Stephen. A good day.
Yeah.
Those are our drought-tolerant local scale.
Local scale.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else, Theron?
No, that's all I had. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Camille? Okay, Corey?
Yeah, just to you as a council, many thanks for all of your being proactive and energy as far as working with each of your assignments. It's pretty awesome to see. It's been, in these last couple of years, really neat how engaged you are with each of the groups, and thank you for that. It's fun to hear all the good things that are going on, and also I can tell with these committees, they feel your support and care, and it makes it nice, so thank you for that.
Was that like a farewell speech or
Yeah,
something?
that sounded like it, huh?
How about no? How many, I'm curious, how many staff council members do we have going to the league event?
So staff-wise, we got 3, and at council, are we up to 3 now?
I have 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I'll just put a plug. I encourage especially our department heads to attend if they're available, and any council members.
It's the first week of October, the League, Utah League of Cities and Towns, their annual conference.
It's the Salt Lake one.
That's all I had.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We have a motion to adjourn,
I can second it.
seconded by Councilmember Carlson. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
We're almost there.
What's that?